Welcome to this tutorial on Gavotte by George Frederic Handel. This is from the Faber Adult Piano Ventures, Book 1. So for this short little piece, we're covering a different type of chord than the usual C major chord in the left hand in the bass part. So what we're looking at is what we call a C sus4. So where that comes from is the 4 is, if we count from C, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 4 is the F in there. So we kind of have this type of what I call the pop chord, has that kind of quality. So this 4 likes to resolve to the E, the 3, when we go to the C major chord. So it's kind of like tension and release. So here we have quite a few of those back to back. So it starts off with C and goes into C sus4 on the next full measure of the piece. And then at the end, C sus4 resolves to C chord. So just be careful when you're applying those two chords. What tends to happen is sometimes I'll see this, where we want to hold on to what we call the common tones, C or G or both, going from one chord to the next. But you really want to make sure that you re-hit all 3 notes for each chord. So it's 3 notes, lift a little, 3 notes again. So we really hear the full chord. So that's pretty important for this piece. So that's for the bass part in terms of chord changes. And then meanwhile, for the rest of the piece, if we take a look at basically from the very beginning up to the downbeat on measure 4, it basically repeats that same melody again in the middle of measure 4 to the very end of the piece. So ultimately you're playing this melody twice, but each time the dynamic is slightly different. So mezzo forte in the opening, and then when you repeat the melody again in the middle of measure 4, it'll be piano or quite soft. So definitely incorporating those later when you get the hang of the rhythm and the notes. And this is definitely great practice for eighth notes. There are a lot. A lot of the time it's on beat 4 of a measure. So in the opening, we have 3 and 4 and 4 and then if we're looking at measure 3, this group of pair of eighth notes happens on beat 2, 2 and. So we'll be following that until the very end. Measure 7 is the same. On beat 2 is the pair of eighth notes. One thing to note is, so at the very end of the piece, there's a half note written there. So it's only 2 beats. Where's beat 3 and 4, you say, or ask? Because it says 4/4 in the time signature. So technically, the way this would go, the end of the piece is 1, 2, and then the beginning is 3, 4, and. So the last 2 beats were carried over into the beginning of the piece. Let's take a look at right hand. So if you just practice right hand alone. So we're going to be focusing on the very beginning up to the downbeat on measure 4. Just for rhythm's sake. So we have 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2. So that's a nice cutoff point for practicing. Or you could do slur by slur, which is even better when you're first learning this piece. So breaking it up into slurs. So the first slur, 3, 4, and 1, 2. Next slur, 3, 4, and 1, 2. Next slur, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2. And then if we're just practicing left hand, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. Rest, 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 rest. Okay, so with this type of piece, obviously practicing hand stepper is really important. But when you're trying to put it together, I always like to group it in like per slur. So it's like nice little chunks to focus in on. So we have 3, 4, and 1, 2. And then making sure we have the correct rhythm, making sure we're re-hitting all the notes on the next chord. So moving on to slur number 2, what's really nice is both hands share the same rhythm, and they're both going up by step and down by step, just starting on different notes for a really nice harmony. So we have 3, 4, and 1, 2. And then going into slur number 3, this one's a bit longer, going into the next line. So keeping in mind, we're going to get that C sus4 ready to go when we get to measure 3. But we're going to start on that third slur. 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2. And again, making sure we re-hit all the notes. And that's pretty much it. So for the next part of the piece, it just repeats, but softer and dynamic, hence the piano. So now I will go ahead and play the piece from measure 1 all the way to the end, so you can hear what it sounds like with the dynamics.